Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. I'm Tyler, and today we are talking about the one and only Friday the 13th from 1980. This film was written by Victor Miller and directed by Sean S. Cunningham. Now, let's get right into it, okay? So first off, I'm going to start with my positives. And the first positive that really comes to mind is the practical effects by Tom Savini. Really, they're amazing. I will take practical effects like Tom Savini's over CGI any day. The throat slit on Annie in the beginning it looks amazing, and then the Kevin Bacon's death with the spike going through his neck. There's a lot of neck kills in this. There's like 2 throat slashes and like a poke through the neck. Tom Savini's practical effects are pretty amazing in this film, and this is really the film that like launched him into his like 80s heyday pretty much. And of course, the next thing that comes to mind for positives is Harry Manfredini's score. I mean, it's just such a classic score, and it works so well in this film with building tension and suspense. It's unforgettable, really. It is just an unforgettable score. Another positive I have is the amount of kills. This film was really the first one to have such a large body count. It really wasn't like that common before this film came out for there to be such high body counts, and really this whole film kind of just focuses on the kills and the body count, because the story and the characters is really just kind of it feels like it was like an afterthought to the kills. Just pretty sad, because the kills are also like half of them are cutaways, or you only see the aftermath of the kills. I'm getting ahead of myself, those are negatives. Out of the whole film, there are really only a couple characters that I actually like. For me, Pamela, I love Pamela. I mean, especially as a killer, a female killer, and she's a mom, and she's doing it because she's a mom, and she wants, like, revenge. It's a revenge story, revenge whodunit kind of story. And I think Pamela is a great killer. I think Betsy Palmer does a phenomenal job at playing Mrs. Voorhees. She is, like, just the little smirks that she does, and the way she's, like, she seems nice and welcoming, but she has kind of, like, this weird edge to her, and then until she like explodes. And I especially love when she's breaking down the door in the kitchen and then she like peeks her head through. Reminds me of The Shining, only she did it first, and it looks like her face, her smile is just so creepy, and it's just perfect. And a lot of people say like, oh, I don't believe this old woman could, lift him up, or, hide him in the tree, or, whatever. But I fully believe that she would be able to do all of that if she was that mad about, her son being killed. Other characters, Alice, I've noticed that, like, there's a large chunk of people who are fans of these movies, but they don't like Alice, which I never understood, because I always really liked Alice. I thought she was a cool final girl, even though she just so happens to be the last one. Like, it doesn't matter. I still think she's cool, and I still think that she beats Mrs. Voorhees fairly. I mean, it's a pretty long fight, and she gets beat up but still wins. So when people say that she's like not a good final girl, I don't really get that, because I really enjoy the fight between her and Mrs. Voorhees. And also Annie in the beginning. I really like Annie. I think she's very sweet and caring in the opening. She's very welcoming. I feel like it's very easy to get attached to Annie very quickly. Her, Alice, and Pamela are really the only characters in this film that I, maybe Bill, but like, I don't know, there's just not much character development in this film. My final positive for this film would be the final scare at the end. When Jason jumps out of the boat, which I think I feel like it's definitely a dream sequence, because she was just told the story of this boy drowning in the lake, and then had to fight this killer, and then like goes off into the lake and falls asleep, and then like dreams that she fell in the lake. I mean, it's clearly a dream, but anyway, I think the scare is just really well done. A lot of people say it's a ripoff of Carrie, but I think this one is done a little bit better. The final scare in Carrie never really got me, kind of, but the Friday the 13th scare, final scare, I think it's multiple things that really make it so effective. It's the fact that Sean waited so long, like the scene drags to the point where like nobody thinks anything's gonna happen. And then, you know, the score that Harry Manfredini made to make it seem so peaceful and safe and calm was absolutely beautiful. So those two things together just made it so effective. Now on to my cons. The first con I have for this film is that it's, for me, it's a failed whodunit. It tries to be like a like a whodunit, but where it really fails for me is the fact that we don't see Mrs. Voorhees before the end scene of the film, like before she comes in at the very end of the film. We never see her in the beginning in like the cafe. We never see her car drive by in the background or anything. You know, I just think if it was going to be a whodunit, I think they should have inserted her more into the background or something where we could say, oh, it was her. But when they reveal to you that it's Mrs. Voorhees, you're like, okay, so who is this? Okay, now I get it. It's not like a, oh my god, it was them. It's just kind of like a, oh, okay, I get it now. The only person that they really make you think it could be them is Mr. Christie, because he has the same Jeep as Mrs. Voorhees. But that's really the only thing. And even then, you're like, it can't be Mr. Christie because he's not wearing this blue sweater or those pants. You know, he's wearing these gross short shorts, and I'm pretty sure he was like shirtless in the beginning when we first see him or something. I don't know. Yeah, and the next negative for me would be the writing, the character dialogue, specifically in the middle, like after Annie dies and then before Pamela enters, Mrs. Voorhees enters. That whole chunk of the film is just kind of really slow for me. It's very boring. Just because the character dialogue really means nothing and you're not really learning anything about the characters, there's really very little character development, which is another negative for me. Just watching them, I mean, literally like make dinner and make coffee and, I mean, fight a snake and talk about their wet dreams. I mean, there's no character development whatsoever. For me, I have to watch the uncut version every time I watch this movie, because I can't deal with the rated version. There's just too many cutaways and you don't see anything, and it's just sluggish, kind of. The gore as well. I talked about Tom Savini's practical effects. His effects look amazing, but they're only in the film for like 2 minutes tops. Like a total like screen time of his effects is only a couple minutes tops, and it's really quite sad. Other than that, this film has a lot of really great deaths in it. It's got really an incredibly iconic score, an amazing killer, and some really good death scenes and some awesome visuals. And it's, you know, Crazy Ralph is a cool character as well. I can't believe I almost forgot to mention Crazy Ralph. And I also love that, you know, some of these characters make it to the second movie. Well, a couple of them. But I enjoy that fact as well. And this isn't my least favorite Friday the 13th movie, but it's definitely not my favorite. And if you're a fan of slasher films or horror movies and you haven't seen Friday the 13th, I would definitely say check it out if you haven't seen it, but don't expect it to be a masterpiece. So I'm probably going to rate it like a 6 out of 10. That's pretty good. That sounds really good to me. Now, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I mean, I definitely want to hear your thoughts on the film.